Alright, let's see if this is working. What's going on, everyone? Miles here with Real Hyper JLU. Got a couple products I've unboxed and will unbox here. I want to kind of just go over it with y'all and just give y'all some information and my initial thoughts on the unboxing. First of all, big shout out to Bobby Cox at Motobilt and Kevin and Brittany with Light Bright. If it wasn't for them, I don't know what diff covers I would have gone with at the time, but after seeing their review and their initial unboxing, I really liked the way they looked, and I liked the way they seem to have improved over the factory ones. Thicker edges, better strength, and it's got a really cool aggressive look even if you don't want to paint them. A lot of people actually have messaged me, some friends be like, why didn't you just go with a Rubicon, at least, with all the money I'm putting into it, these bigger gears, and I'll eventually upgrade, the front drive shafts, the half shafts and stuff. Well, if I'd have spent the money on the Rubicon for the way I live, I wouldn't be able to do as much to my Jeep as I'd like. That's just a personal opinion. There's nothing wrong with being a Sport owner or a Sport S owner. And there's nothing wrong with being a Rubicon owner. I don't do a lot of hard rock crawling, but if I'm gonna open up the diffs and change my gears, I'll change the covers. I'll put a better part on there. So let me get to this. First of all, before I show off the covers, Motobilt supplies these bolts, and they say that they must be cleaned and painted or they will rust. I don't know if I'm going to try to find these 12 points in stainless and just maybe get them anodized or just not paint them, but I will at the least clean these and get them painted. But it's nice that they do supply you with proper bolts. They don't just say, hey, here's a diff cover, good luck. So here they are. Now I have a 200 rear axle and a 185 if I recall. So they are slightly different in size, but this is it. I'm looking down at my phone because it's got this GoPro app on it, so I can make sure I kind of show y'all everything good. So the welds are great. Everything, no light seems to shine through. Yeah, so this is the rear. They've done a great job with it. Look how thick that is. You're not going to peel that off if you're out, on a rock. Not like you would on the factory ones. So that's there. And of course, gotta get that sticker swag. And then here's the front. It looks identical. It's just probably just a tad smaller. It might not even be smaller. I honestly haven't put them up next to each other. But here, I'll try to get close in so you can really see that. Now, they do need to be cleaned. There's still some packing foam in there and stuff. But, I mean, they're going to go off to powder coat for me. I am going to make them a little mall crawly, a little pretty. I'm going to get blue to match the Jeep. And that will be that. So, thank you again, Bobby Cox, Kevin and Brittany. Y'all the real MVP. Now, I have two boxes here for ultimately the same product. S-tech switch systems for the JL. The reason I went with this, I was talking with someone on one of the Facebook pages, was because, bear with me as I open this, I didn't get the Mopar ones because I knew I would need more switches. And I didn't really like the idea of, at the time, that I would have to go and get it programmed to my Jeep if I used the Mopar ones. But I also didn't realize that apparently my Taser programmer can do that for me, but I at the same time I didn't care because I wanted some uniformity down there, knowing I would need more than 4 switches, and the 4 button switches, it just wasn't for me, and I wanted something different. I was thinking about the S-Pod, but the Bantam is like $900 or something like that, and then someone did a regular S-Pod. It's not technically for a JL, but I guess they've made it work. I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's $500. This is retail, I think, like $300 before maybe any discounts, like if it was Black Friday or certain little things. Like I chose carbon fiber. It's a little bit more than $300 actually, because I did get the 60 amp fuse block, because the fuse block goes between the battery and the system, so that way it's protected. Yeah, everything's good. But then you had to get the cubbies. The cubbies direct are like $40. Honestly, it's a little expensive for plastic for me, especially because the little trays that come in the cubbies, these things, you will throw out because your switches will go in the cubby. So, but Scott, thank you at S-tech, does make it so you don't have to go to your parts dealer and get these. He can get them all to you. But I'll go ahead and open up one of them. I ordered the 6 on the left. The 6 switches to the left one because they're the ones that are closest to me, and how I'm going to use them is 3 are going to be for my lockers, front, rear, and compressor, 10-inch front light bar, and 2 different sets of light pods. One set will be facing forward and one will be a side shot. For those of you who've seen my fender deletes, if you're deciding on fender deletes, something to consider here, you'll see 2 front tabs that we're holding on your fenders. Those tabs are really nicely placed. They're a little close to the body, but instead of cutting there and trying to paint that area, just break the 2 upper tabs off over the fender to get your wheel clearance, and that can be a nice mounting spot. So Matt Loxley from High Beam Off-Road is sending me some slim lights that are slim pods that should work and light up nicely there, and we're gonna know probably the next week or 2 how they fit or what type of bracket adaptation we might need to do. But yeah, so this is the right side, where if you ordered a 4 on the right, this would go in this cubby here. And again, you will take this out because you will slide your switches into here if you're putting switches in that side. Until then, you could leave that. The holes here where, let's see if you can see those holes right here? When you pull, and I'll tell you, Scott did a great job. When you pull this out, that tray has 2 holes in it as well, yeah, actually you can see the light through it now. When you put your switches in, I'll show you, there's actually screws to hold it down in there as well. They thought that through. You don't just pop it in and drill a hole and pull your wires out. And I thought that was a nice little detail. Here's the 60 amp breaker fuse. Connect it to the battery. If it shuts off, boop, boop. There you go. Pretty simple. So there's that. Let's get to opening the big son of a gun. Again, great amounts of paperwork. If you need to know what they offer, nice little bits of promos for themselves. But like if you have other products, you have Tacoma or something, that shows you what other products you can get. So it does come with some great, supporting papers, whatever you want to call it. But the install guide is completely in color with pictures. And for the most part, it's actually quite clear. It even explains like what system, if you got it, which amp, which fuse block does what. It can hold up to 30 amps each per circuit and a total of 600 watts. So plenty of power there, but the color pictures are fantastic. Doesn't happen often, especially with color. So good job there. Like I said, plenty of literature, of course, my favorite, sticker swag. Totally stoked about that. It's probably my favorite thing are stickers, even though I don't really like putting them on my paint, except for one. But anyways, y'all don't care about that, so I'm gonna move on. All right, so here's my switches. All right, like I said, here's the other cubby that I got. You see there's holes on the bottom. On the bottom of my switches, there are 2 areas to put screws. And these are the switches. I got the blue micro LED with carbon. Now, the one thing I didn't know, and not that I'm honestly upset, because this is one of those things that it could get worn out. When you rub your fingers on all the time. I thought the plate was real carbon. It's not, but in hindsight, it's better that way. It would have maybe been $25 more in carbon, unless he had to make this whole housing out of carbon. Then you'd be like $50 to $100 because of fabrication and cutting and all that. So this is a wrap, but it's a pretty good quality carbon wrap. It's not a cheaper one. I guess I just really didn't think about it at the time when I ordered it. It's like a $5 upgrade. But I think blue in the carbon is going to look nice. But at the end of the day, I can always re-wrap it. I could just paint over it if I wanted to. It does look nice. But in the end, when it decides if it's going to get worn out for me, like trying to fumble while if I don't really look down while I'm driving to hit like a light beam, it'll be fine. Overall, really nicely well put together. Everything's wired nicely. Simple single plug harness to go to the relay, to the switch housing. But then it just, I just kind of put it in there. It all just tucks in nicely like this. So good job on that, Scott. I'm happy with it. Like I said, the only thing I didn't know was that it wasn't real carbon, but at the end of the day, looking back at it, I'm not unhappy that it's not real carbon. It's one less thing where if this was to break or, you know, whatever, it's not as hard to work with. So hindsight, not real carbon, not that bad of a deal though that it isn't. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick this down in here just to protect that up till I can get to an install. Might get it installed Friday if there's time. I might not do that install. It's going to the shop to get some things checked on, so maybe I'll just have them throw it in. But here is the harness and box system. So, he supplies everything you need, by the way. Even the add-a-fuse. There's an add-a-fuse in there. Just pop it in line. Goes right here. Boom. Power. Ground. Leads. Everything's numbered. Tells you right where it goes to what switch, left to right. And in those instructions, it tells you which one is which. This is the mounting bar bracket. Goes right next to the battery. So thank you also Mo Dale with is it Bromance and Easy Does It on their YouTube channel for helping hook this up. This will put it next to the battery, and this will mount onto that. Now let me open this up from the top so y'all can see how they do it. There you go. There's your relays. And there's all, oh man, I don't want to do this. There's all your fuses. I have in here currently a 30 amp, a 20 amp, and the rest are 15s. Depending on what I need, I might change that around or where they go, because in the booklet it does tell you where the where each one goes to. So if you need, you know, a 50-inch light bar that needs a 30 amp or something, you could do that right there. You could just simply pop in a different fuse and it's adequate. So far so good. I'm happy with what I've received. I can't wait to have it installed. It's going to make my life a lot easier. It's going to look clean, because I'm eventually going to add a few more things where I'll do another 4-switch system. I might go to push buttons just so it looks a little different. But again, going back to the uniformity look, I could just go 10 switches straight across. To have another box, it'll be great. I know a bunch of y'all been waiting for some updated photos or other videos of the Jeep. Honestly, between the wedding and stuff, I have just kind of neglected updating that. But, oh yeah, they even included the screws for putting the switches in the plate, or in the cubbies. So I'll just put those in there. It'll be good to rock and roll. I'm picking up my inner fenders from Tech. Thanks Armando as well on that. Pick those up tomorrow or Friday morning before it goes to shop. They'll be installed. So finally the Jeep won't look like this unfinished thing with a lot of open stuff. Especially because on the turbos you can see like the downpipe right there. You can see the coolant reservoir. I'm sure the 3.6 coolant reservoirs are not coolant, windshield washer fluid reservoirs right there as well. But it's just kind of open exposed. I have some wires that are exposed. So that'll be nice. And that'll, for the most part, wrap up the Jeep as far as any new things, other than I'm doing a little bit of a change up with my bumper. I'm going from the mid-width to the stubby with a full-length stinger. Thanks also to Matt Mihalik with that from Tech. And then I'll get some rocker guards to kind of finish off that fender delete line, that black line all the way down. Those are going to be great. They don't require any rivets. They use, like, I think it's VHB 3M style tape to stick to the paint. Oh, excuse me, got a cold. Other than that, not a lot. Like I said, Matt Loxley supplied some lights, including some headlights and fogs from High Beam Off-Road with the adapter kits for JK-sized headlights. So those should be in soon. Those are actually going to have RGB headlights. Halos. So I think the Jeep's just really finally coming together. For the most part, it's pretty much done, other than a few little things here and there. I know I say like we say it's never done. That's the fucking truth. Anyways, if y'all have any questions, just message me. Find me on the Facebook pages, Miles Telzer, any of the JL groups. Happy to answer what I can, or I'll get you in contact with who can. All right, y'all. If I don't see y'all in another video until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. Have fun.